So should I? Good morning. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Buenos dias, I guess. I am Massimiliano Gioni. I'm the guest curator of the exhibition Apariencia desnuda, Desire and the Object in the work of Marcel Duchamp and Jeff Koons even, and welcome you all today for this very special day of talks and panels and conversations with really a stellar group of guests. I'm very thankful to all the guests for being here. And very thankful to Jumex and the entire team for organizing this great exhibition and also this day of programs, and which will be also followed by a few other Duchampian aficionados and Koons lovers. I'm not going to bore you about the exhibition. The best way to think about an exhibition is to go and see it. I'm thankful that you took the time to be here today. Outside is a beautiful day, and so I hope your dedication will be rewarded by a wonderful panel. Whenever I go to a panel and I see a room full of people, I'm reminded of a joke by Erwin Panofsky that used to say that people in Hamburg, if they could choose between going to a panel or going about heaven and going to heaven, they would rather go to the panel. And I guess there are many people from Hamburg here tonight. And I guess we can start. I'll pass on the word to Julieta González, who is the artistic director of the Jumex Museum, and she will introduce the first guests. And thank you so much again.
Thank you, Massimiliano. Voy a hablar en español ahora, pero luego en inglés con los ponentes. Muy buenos días, muchas gracias por estar aquí. En el inicio de este programa público en torno a la exposición Apariencia desnuda, el objeto y el deseo en la obra de Marcel Duchamp y Jeff Koons aún. Hoy tenemos con nosotros y vamos a hablar un poco de este contexto. El contexto temprano de la obra de Jeff Koons, es decir, ese Nueva York de finales de los 70 y principios de los 80. Jeff Koons se muda a Nueva York en el año 77, justo el año del apagón. Es un momento en el que Nueva York está en un momento de declive y tanto Linda Yablonsky como Jeffrey Deitch son parte íntegra de este momento también. Linda Yablonsky es crítico de arte y ha vivido en Nueva York también desde los años 70, pues ha formado parte de esta escena artística de Nueva York, escribiendo para distintos medios, entre ellos Art Forum, actualmente también The Art Newspaper, y más que nada también Linda lleva ya años haciendo una investigación para la primera biografía de Jeff Koons, que va a salir publicada próximamente. Por lo tanto, también nos va a hablar hoy un poco de esa investigación que ha hecho, de los archivos, de toda la información que ha ido recabando en este proceso de escritura de esta biografía de Jeff Koons. Jeffrey Deitch es pues un galerista muy reconocido de Nueva York. Pues su galería Deitch Projects pues fue parte fundamental también de ese Nueva York de los 80, de los 90, pues ha sido muy cercano a Jeff Koons, pero también fue asesor de colecciones como la de Dakis Joannou y curador de exposiciones muy importantes y que definieron momentos como Posthuman hace algunas décadas, ¿no? Y donde también figuró el trabajo de Jeff Koons. Entonces, pues hoy, y ahora voy a cambiar al inglés para hablar con los ponentes, pues vamos a hablar de ese contexto más temprano. Gracias. So now I switch to English. So as I was saying in Spanish before, Jeff moved to New York in '77, which was the year of the blackout, and the time in which New York. He moved in '76, well, some biographies have it at 77. Okay. Well, that's why we have you here, Linda, to clarify all the facts. So, anyhow, New York in the second half of the 70s was in a period of blight and decay, and actually witnessed a massive exodus of the middle class to the suburbs. And but then this gave an enormous opportunity to artists, you know, who could rent for very big spaces for very low prices, and it was also a thriving art scene as well, also in the alternative scene, like the nightclubs, the punks, etc. So, in a way, you're part of this, and perhaps I'd like us to elaborate a little bit on this New York of the late 70s, and perhaps Jeffrey, once we speak a little bit with Linda about this, to talk about the early 80s and how that art scene is beginning to reconfigure itself in a different way.
Well, the most famous newspaper headline of New York City of the 1970s was a New York Post cover, "Forward to City, Drop Dead." That was the president just abandoning New York City.
Yes.
It was a lost cause. So,
and I'd like to point out that was the moment Donald Trump made his move.
This devastated, bankrupt city was an artist's paradise. For instance, my first apartment, my trajectory in New York is very similar to Jeff's. I arrived in 1974. My first apartment, rent-controlled, $165 a month, and
I only paid $80.
Okay.
For a loft.
Later, I found a place for $62 a month. But that showed that the worst thing for an artist who wants to develop their career is to have a conventional 9-to-5 job. That even a good teaching job can put a damper on creativity. So I was just about the only person in my circle who had a job. I worked as an assistant at a gallery. Almost everyone else somehow got along, and so it was quite a remarkable economy. From a conventional point of view, very, very difficult. But from an artistic point of view, this was everything that artists wanted.
It wasn't that much different than Mexico City, well, actually. Low cost of living. It was possible to have a part-time job 2 days a week, and the rest of the time make your work. At the time, every other artist you met actually had a band. The whole scene, the whole downtown Manhattan scene, which is where the whole creative community lived, was kind of developed out of the music scene, as you mentioned. Every night, people went to the same clubs and supported the bands, and out of this, a whole culture evolved. Would you say that's true?
Yes. So, in addition, New York City this is the last period when one city was indisputably the advanced cultural capital of the world. So it wasn't just American artists from many European countries, Latin American countries, even Ai Weiwei from China. So this is where ambitious young artists, musicians came. Okay. And it was an international community, and the small number of collectors, patrons, curators, they came as well.
Well, it's also, just to add to that, there was this amazing wave of young people who came to New York from everywhere in the same 2 years, basically between 1976 and 78 or 9. And they all started meeting each other because they all lived in the same neighborhood, and they would see each other every day on the street or every night in a bar and in one of the clubs where the bands were performing. And this, in fact, is what brought Jeff Koons to New York. He was in Chicago at the time going to school, or he was just out of school, art school. And